That's James's dinner, and some almond milk, and that chocolate, which we really liked. No, James said he likes this one more and this one second, but I like this one first.
Well,
anyway,
in terms of health, I think black chocolate's okay for cancer. Milk chocolate, not so good, but you only eat a very small amount of those. These things too.
This got top of the stack, Why Insects Matter, and above Yosemite and Western Canada Far and Wild. And honestly, as far as I'm concerned, all three of these are great. So I enjoyed they're just different things, right? I talked it over with James and he decided, well, there's just so much information in this that this has to be on top of the stack, right? But
so it's not just information per unit of time. Yeah. There are many discs on that.
Yeah, there's 4. And he does a good job.
But so 2 lessons on each disc? Half-hour lesson? Or is it more?
There are 6.
But see, so that's 24 half-hour lessons. So that's 12 hours. That's getting close to a university course.
It's very chilly today.
It's cool.
But at least the sun is out, so the plants are getting some sun.
Now I'm going to ask you, how much of this...
it's all yours. See, this part is what I ate earlier, and this was with mozzarella. I can't eat the cheddar. So you get the cheddar stuff. I can't have it. I can only have the mozzarella. So this time I made just mozzarella on this half and cheddar on that one, and then it'd be obvious which you had. But then I ate all the mozzarella, so now it's not obvious to you, I guess. But anyway, I guess I'll start with I wrote a little poem that I was reminded of while watching this Why Insects Matter. So I think I was on the second disc watching this, and I wrote a little poem, and it's an exercise. It's not really artful or anything. It's just something I wrote. So it's called Mosquitos. Oh man, we got a lot of rain, but now the sun is out again and shining on the puddles all about. It's time to move the standing water out, or something bad will breed in there, no doubt. Mosquitoes. If we let dang mosquitoes breed, there's always BT corn to feed the larvae in the puddles in the lawn. We could just stay indoors at dusk and dawn and put that awful off repellent on. Ugh, mosquitoes. They might just give us a disease, or that would really suck. So please look out for standing water that you see. Most can be drained or filled in easily. Those pests will make a meal of you and me. Ugh, mosquitoes. We're all relieved to get the rain, but in a week we'll go insane if we don't clear the standing water now. If we don't make the effort, we allow the swarms to come and make us have a cow. Ugh, mosquitoes. So, I hope you enjoyed that somewhat.
So let that be a lesson to people who are learning poetry. When you're using interjections, use stuff that people use nowadays.
Oh.
So you'll read a lot of poetry from way back when. Some of it, like, don't do that nowadays. A lot of people do it, fill out Pauline wasn't filling out the rhythm there. But a lot of people will put an O and an ah. Maybe use an ooh, because sometimes people say that. Merv Griffin used to say it was kind of annoying when he said it, but it was annoying when he said pretty well anything. Anyway.
So now I'm going to read my notes that I made while watching Why Insects Matter. And honestly, I didn't take great notes, because there were some things I was just interested in, but I thought, I don't know, I'm just watching it and whatever, I don't need to make notes about it, so whatever. Slight differences in the genes, proteins forming sodium channels in walls of some insects made them resistant to DDT. The more intensively we use pesticides, the less useful they become. Delta endotoxins have to be digested by an insect to be toxic to them. BT have these proteins, Bacillus thuringiensis, and there's different kinds. So I was talking about the BT corn because I used to be an IPM technician, so he was talking about integrated pest management here. And this time of year, I'd be out putting BT or sometimes some other chemicals, right? Depending on where we were spraying. Like for a while, we were allowed to use different chemical in the ditches, and then we weren't allowed to use that chemical anymore. So that's how it happens, right? You use this stuff and then they say, oh no, that's not good for the environment or whatever, and you can't use it anymore. Or whatever happens, right? So, but most of what we used we used the BT a lot. We used a lot of BT. And I think it was BTI that we used, and I can't remember what the I stood for. So there's different Bacillus thuringiensis, depending on what you're using it for, right? And anyway, so that's why I was reminded of the mosquitoes, because it's amazing, you know, sometimes, usually it would be something like, I was up north doing that, so in the Peace Country, there was so much water, you know, so much standing water this time of year, it's pretty hard to deal with it. But someplace like here, well, you can deal with it, you know. It's just sometimes you see city contractors, you know, developers, that they develop things a certain way. They've developed it elsewhere this way, and they're developing in, you know, they go to different places and it's developed the same way, but it's like, okay, but you're not paying attention to the differences in the environment and whatever, and it shouldn't be the same. You go to different places and you're like, you go to, I'm just gonna make up a name like Cobblestone or something, you know, some neighborhood, and you can go to so many other cities and they have this same neighborhood and they're built in the same way or whatever. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, here in Lethbridge, there's not a lot of places for standing water to stand, really. It's, you know, it's pretty easy for people to figure out how to not make it stand, and so do that, right? Like, you don't have to have puddles accumulating this time of year and then having to rely on going out and tossing in some BT corn to deal with the mosquitoes or whatever, right? It's just a lot of the work that you see people do. It's like make work projects, you know. It's anyway, whatever. So clustered regularly interspaced. I was writing down what CRISPR stands for, and then I decided, oh, who cares? Allows scientists to edit genes without introducing another species' genes into the plant. Boll weevil attacks cotton plants. Boll weevil develop BT resistance. The estimated loss due to boll weevil damage was in the billions. Pheromones led the weevils into traps. Well, that's a lot easier, right? So, cottony cushion scale feeds on phloem. The citrus industry suffered when this was introduced from Australia. Vidalia ladybird beetle ate the cottony cushion scale in Australia, so it wasn't a problem there. Vidalia was imported and controlled the problem. Now, he was talking about how you have to worry about, really pay attention when importing predators for insects that you've imported, right? Because they might be a problem too, right? I much prefer the idea of using pheromones and stuff like that, because, but whatever. Mountain pine beetle, which was another thing I dealt with a lot up north when I was IPM tech. Feed on phloem and the fungi that grows in the beetle's tunnels in the tree. The fungi are introduced by the beetles. American elm, Scollitis bark beetle, introduced from Europe along with native beetle, really spread the disease. Insect-borne diseases. Mosquitoes transmit many diseases, but yellow fever and malaria stand out. Malaria spread by mosquitoes in the Pontine marshes around Rome kept out would-be invaders. Malaria was common in Rome as well. No, I didn't mean to write malaria there. I meant bubonic plague or something like that, I think, because I'd already said malaria. So there you go with my note.
Actually.
Okay. Bubonic
That's
plague was
actually
spread by fleas.
malaria, I think,
Also,
is
we can grow
an Italian thing. Mal is bad, aria is air.
Yeah, he talked about that in here. So, anyway, where malaria is common, people tend to develop a resistance to it, or like somewhat. So I guess they'll get sick, but not like deadly sick or something.
I know one person who was on the mission that I was, where we were at when I was born. I wasn't born there, but he died of malaria.
The Mongols used plague biological warfare, catapulting infected corpses over walls. I already knew about that. Yellow fever decimated Native Americans when the mosquitoes carrying it, Aedes aegypti, was accidentally brought over. The local colonists had more of a resistance to it. Anopheles, the vectors for malaria, are active at dawn and dusk. Centrona trees were exported to establish stands overseas so they'd have the ability to produce quinine away, like elsewhere. Pupa breathe through a weird trumpet thing out of the top of their thorax. So I'm talking about the mosquitoes now, and they're really weird. Like when, if you go out and you try to find some mosquitoes, you could probably do it pretty soon. Like I said, there's a lot of standing, we got a lot of rain, and which is not really common for Lethbridge. So. And we haven't even had the June monsoons really for a long time. But even when we have them, it drains. It drains into the river, so we don't really have standing water here.
Generally, to get standing water with a June monsoon, we have to have a couple kind of in a row. Like we had one last summer, but it didn't even last 2 days much. That's 2.5 days. It's like 1.5 days. And it was, I think, only one in June.
Yeah. But you can go out and, I mean, you can staple a cup to the end of a stick, and as long as you make sure you don't shade the water where the mosquitoes, because usually they're going to be in like some standing water where there's some grass around it or something, but not necessarily. There was one person's dugout that they'd call us in to control the mosquitoes, and there was nothing around it. There was no grass whatsoever. I think the thing was even lined, and yet they were there. You'd scoop them and you were like, oh my gosh, they're here. Why? But they were. But usually it's like some grass or something. There's going to be some life around the edge or something, and then you scoop and you're like, oh, there they are, right? But as long as you don't shade the water, because they're photosensitive, the larvae. So you'll see them. It looks like they're hanging upside down, right? Their tail area is like the head, thorax, abdomen, right? The end of the abdomen, there's this breathing tube, and so they hang upside down at the water surface so that they can breathe, right? Which is kind of cool, and it makes it easy for people to come and scoop them and go, yeah, they're here, or even just see them. You can just walk by and see them just hanging.
Of course, it would tempt people to put a film on the water to suffocate them, right? You never heard of that?
I don't know.
Anyway, best not to do things like that. I think it'd be oil.
I've never heard of people doing that, but I don't know. Whatever. So, but the pupa look different. So once they, they go through a few instars of the larva, and then they, the pupa, they do this barrel roll thing, right? Like larvae, they kind of squiggle, but the pupa, they just roll and roll and roll. So they're very different, and they have this weird trumpet thing out of the thorax, the back of the thorax, instead of the end of the abdomen. So I don't know how it comes that they breathe differently all of a sudden, but they do. And anyway, so that's kind of interesting. And then there are proteins in the saliva that cause bites to be itchy. The saliva also carries viruses and parasites that cause disease. Plasmodium sporozoite, I don't know what that is, go from mosquito bite to liver.
Yeah, bad stuff.
Merozoites. I don't know how to pronounce these things. I just wrote it down and anyway, burst out of red blood cells. That doesn't sound fun. And then there's the gametocytes develop that are either male or female. Another mosquito bite transfers them back into the mosquito. So the zygote is formed in the midgut of the mosquito, and like all insects, the open circulatory system allows the sporozoites, or whatever, to move through hemolymph to all mosquitoes' organs. They target the salivary gland, though, because, I mean, that's where they want to be, of course. Once they're there, they're ready to be injected into another person's blood. So then the system continues. So, I mean, we think of, oh, these mosquitoes cause these diseases, but really, to a mosquito, we do, or whatever, right? Because the disease requires both hosts. So, anyway. Hitler weaponized malaria. I didn't know about that. Flooded the marshes, the Pontine swamps, that Mussolini had drained. Did you know about that? I didn't know about that.
Well, it's biological warfare. Oh, sorry, folks.
Any chemical used to control mosquitoes will fail. CRISPR, gene editing, gene drives to make more males than females to encourage a mosquito population crash. Prevent standing water, mosquito breeding habitat, and use window screens.
I want to point about Hitler. Like, Hitler invaded Italy after they surrendered to the Allies, the Americans mainly. And so what he was doing was, okay, he was fighting American and English troops and the local population.
Yeah.
What a horrible workman. What an
Plants are protected by ants. Many plants offer ants a nectar reward, extra floral nectar produced in different parts of the plant. The plant gives away this valuable resource because the ants are that valuable to them. Ants defend their food sources. When leaves are damaged, plants may increase production of the extra floral nectar or sweeten it even more to entice the ants. Weaver ants used to protect citrus plants in China. The larvae produce lots of silk, so the ants move the larvae back and forth within the gap between the leaves to bind the leaves together with silk. It was really cute to see that. They're also used to protect mango and cashews. Wood ants protect trees from damage from forest pests. Wood ant nests are huge and in the ground. They can be 6 foot tall. The nests generate their own heat. The sticks on top of the nest work like a compost pile. It can be 20 degrees warmer in the nest than outside of it. Pseudomeramax ants live symbiotically with acacia trees. The bullhorn acacia has Beltian bodies, red bits at base of leaves. Extra floral nectaries are there. The ants on bullhorn acacia stop producing invertase. They get it from the plants themselves. The ants serve as a standing army for the acacia. They not only attack insects, but other plants that come near the acacia. Lemon ants have a citrusy smell. That's why they have that name. They live in hollow stems of whatever that is. Dervia, maybe, or some Hirsuta trees. Devil's garden trees live in one Amazon.
Hirsuta.
My writing's really messy.
Means hairy. Were those trees hairy?
I don't know. Oh, I think they were. Anyway, so he was talking about eating insects in this, and I guess he really likes eating insects. So in Mexico, or probably lots of places in South America anyway, it's really common to eat various insects, and he talked about putting a little salt or whatever and chili powder on them, and they're awesome and whatever. He just loves eating insects. So and he talked about the different dishes that they make and whatever. And James has eaten insects, and he liked them as a kid. But
they were called, well, we called them flying ants, but it would be the queens would come out at a particular time. I think it might have been termites.
Oh.
Come out at a particular time. And they'd just be all around in the air, all over the place. And so you go like this. They had all sorts of eggs in their abdomen. You just swat like this and tasted like butter. Tasty butter too.
But James and I get these things on clearance, so I got this for 99 cents or whatever, and I didn't know if chili would be good with chocolate, but wow, is it ever. This makes both chili and chocolate better, putting them together.
2 thumbs up, chili, chocolate. Yeah.
And
or the dark chocolate.
Yeah, and James said that he thought that's how they had chocolate in, down south.
I think both of those are kind of like the origin of chocolate and of chili.
I don't know. But anyway, it's delicious. I don't know about insects, so somebody else can have the insects with the chili powder. But, so I don't know which to put ahead of which. I think I picked Yosemite because I thought they did it looked like a much more professional job of, like the camera angles and stuff. Like, they put a lot more money into making this one, I think. Even though it would have cost a lot to produce this video because they were traveling all over the place in Canada, right? But whereas this one, they only had to go to one place to do it. So anyway, there's one part where they were like the filmmakers showed people climbing the, I don't know, some big wall in the park, right?
Yosemite is famous. It's called El Capitan.
Oh yes, that's it. And it looked fantastic, and I loved watching it because I was thinking, well, that's something I'm not going to do, because you'd have to be a really great climber to even attempt that.
I can recall a documentary where they're showing a guy, of course, going up without any.
Oh, I remember that. He was free climbing.
Freak climbing.
He did it. He did it.
He did it, but don't do it, folks.
So anyway. Yeah, I remember that too. Anyway, I loved seeing this because that's something, it's basically, like I think with the videos that we make while we're hiking or whatever, it's like, okay, well it's like you're coming hiking with us. We can show you what the different flowers are and whatever and different sites, and you don't necessarily have to get out there every time or whatever. You might be halfway around the world and you get to experience the hike, and so I felt that way when I was watching this. I felt like I was experiencing the climb, right? I was getting to see the views and whatever. And I liked that they also showed people climbing the trees, and they were
climbing like the sequoias.
Yeah. They were people who were trying to see how much stress the trees were under, or whether they were in stress or whatever.
Because of the droughts they're having.
Yeah, and so a guy was showing, he takes leaf samples, and then they take the leaf samples down, they put them in this thing, and it measures, it shows how much stress they're under. So
why stress? Pauline pointed out.
Yeah, but I'm like, they're saying we want to see if they're under stress, and I'm like, well, they're under more stress now that you're harvesting their leaves. And then it shows them later, and there's like 3 of them hanging in the top of the tree, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you guys were just climbing up there for fun. You're using this whole idea of sampling the leaves to see if they're under stress. It's just an excuse to go climb the trees. Because it doesn't take 3 of you to go collect a leaf or 2 from the top of the tree and bring it down, right? Yeah. So it's kind of ridiculous. But
it's like, shows that are supposed to have a conscience, like plays and movies, novels. No, the things are about a movie. They're about entertainment. So forget about the education and edification, whatever, from entertainment, okay? Dickens, whatever.
Western Canada. So with both of these, they were showing, okay, here's how you can spend money while you come, which is, there's so many beautiful places in Western Canada, and Yosemite, so awesome. Do you really need to be doing things like, I'm going to go hang gliding in Yosemite or whatever? I'm going to,
if you go there with Donald Trump in power and you're coming from Canada, you can stay there as far as I'm concerned.
Well, anyway, so Western Canada, and Canadians should be traveling in Canada and spending their money in Canada. Their tourist dollars, and there's a lot of ways that you can go spend money doing silly things in Banff and whatever. But you know what? You don't have to spend money. I was hearing, what was it? Something like 99% of the people who visit the parks don't go, like the national parks, don't go very far. It's something like 200 meters or something away from the vehicle. Like it's like ridiculously short distance.
Well, I really
so,
don't mind that because I don't want them
either.
Out in the back country.
Because we don't, the people that we run up into while we're out hiking further, they're awesome people. Whereas I really don't want to have much to do with anybody who's hanging out. Like, I'm thinking of Red Rock Canyon, right? There's so many people go to visit Red Rock Canyon, and Waterton did not make the top 10 places to go in Canada because, like, I guess the East Coast, everyone was voting for East Coast stuff, which is, the East Coast is really beautiful. So it's tough to compete with that. But
they were stuffing the ballot boxes, but
I think they were.
That's okay.
Yeah, and Grassland beat Waterton, and honestly,
I'm not sure if it did, but it was right there. They were 11th and 12th.
Okay.
I think Waterton came ahead of Grassland.
Oh, it did. Okay, so but Grassland is awesome, and we've been there, and it's a very different kind of awesome. It's like whenever we've went to Grassland, nobody's been there, or and so it's like you feel like this big ranch is all yours, so that's wonderful. It's nice to, and it's the same sort of thing while we're hiking in Waterton. We go out you get away from Red Rock Canyon, not even very far, and you almost have it to yourself. Or go somewhere like Vimy, you have it to yourself, like there's a
Wishbone Trail, strictly speaking.
Yeah, Wishbone Trail. Well, you might run into a few people up until Sofa Creek, but after that point, nobody. There's no one there. So
the most we've ever run across 3 guys that went up on Vimy Ridge.
Yeah.
And it was somewhat windy, but they were young.
They were young.
They knew what they were getting into.
Yeah.
They were from, at least one of them was from around Carson.
Yeah, so this Western Canada thing, I guess I have a minute and 32 seconds to talk about it. They show a lot of things that, I'd love to see, They show things like going to see the polar bears up, like, they show some things like the
Churchill,
Forks in
Manitoba.
Winnipeg, and what was it, Grand Beach?
Grand Beach, north of
and that's
Winnipeg.
Fantastic. And I guess they said it was rated maybe the top beach in the world or something.
Top 10.
Yeah, it was like
top 10 in the world.
And it is great. But which you wouldn't expect, right? You're right in the middle of the country, and
it's flatter.
But it's beautiful. So you might think, it's not very far. Winnipeg's here. It's not really very far to go up to Hudson's Bay. Well, good luck with that. So that's the thing about Canada, is we're all pretty clustered around the southern border, and especially when you're in the middle of the country like that. It's
Ontario and Quebec,
pretty cold, and then you go up. It doesn't take long to go. You go up a little bit and you get really cold really fast, right? Or whatever I'm trying to say. But anyway,
Alberta's the exception, and BC. Peace River country can grow grain up there.
Yeah.
If you get into
I would pick some other places to go. Like they showed